Alrighty, today we're going to be looking at triads, also known as chords. Now there are 4 different types of chords that we mainly use in piano. There's a couple others that we'll dive into a little bit later, but these are our 4 basic types of chords. We have major chords, minor chords, diminished chords, and augmented chords. Okay, let's see what these break down to. So a major chord is a triad that's made up of 3 notes. As you see it, G, B, D. That's an example of a major chord. And between the root and the third, counting the root note as 1, you should have a space of 5 semitones. And then between the third and the fifth of the chord, you should have a space of 4 semitones. So if I were to play this, it would sound like this. So we've got G, and then if we're counting it up, we go G, G sharp, A sharp, B, so 5. And then if we count up again from the third, we go B, C, C sharp, D, so 4. So there's our major triad. And that count for semitones will translate to any key in any chord. So we got C, we've got C, E, G. Bring this down here. C, E, G. Same thing. C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, 5. E, F, F sharp, G, 4. We can even do it with our, in our flat keys and in our, say F sharp major. We go F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp. So there's our root and third. And then from our third, we go A sharp, B, C, C sharp. So F sharp, A sharp, C sharp. Okay, so the next one we have is minor. So a minor chord, it's very similar to a major chord, except for the spaces between the root and the third and the fifth are swapped around. So in our minor chord, we have four semitones between our root and our third, and then we have 5 semitones between our third and our fifth, which is why we have to flatten the third of the chord if it's major to make it a minor. So for G here, we've got G, B flat, and D. So that would sound like this. A little bit more edgy, a bit sadder. And so we go G, G sharp, A sharp, or B flat, which is what we use for a G minor chord. And then from the B flat, we go B flat, B, C, D sharp, D, C sharp, D? Yeah, C sharp, D. So we have G, B flat, D. Okay, so not too tricky. Our next one, we got follow along the same lines, and that's our diminished chord. And for a diminished chord, the easiest way to do it is to play the minor chord and then flatten the fifth. So we're playing G diminished, we go G, B flat, and then instead of playing D like we do in the minor chord, we have to flatten the fifth. So we've got G, B flat, D flat. Sounds a bit kind of like an angry gopher. Yeah. Okay, and so with a diminished chord, the space between the root, the third, and the fifth is actually all equal. That's what makes it a diminished chord. So we've got 4 semitones between both the root and the third and the fifth. Finally, our last chord that we've got is an augmented chord. And this one we have to go all the way back to major to figure out. So we go back to, say, if we're doing it in G, we go back to playing G, B, D. And then what we do is we raise the fifth. Sounds a little adventure-y, very jazzy. Okay, and the space between the root, the third, and the fifth, like with the diminished, it's equal. So for augmented, instead of it being 4 semitones, it's actually 5 semitones apart. So we've got G, G sharp, A sharp, B, which is our first 5, and then from the B we've got B, C, C sharp, D, D sharp, which is another 5. And now these chords can be translated to every single key, and every single note can be played. You can play a chord. You can play all 4 of these chords on every single note on the piano. And that's what I'm going to encourage you to do, is to sit down at your piano and try and figure out the major, minor, diminished, and augmented chords for every note or every white note in the scale. Start small. You can do it for the black notes as well, but until you're more familiar with the scales, I probably wouldn't recommend it. Okay, enjoy.